All right, guys, let's talk Falcons because we've been taking a look at different positions and all that's been going on the last week here, and we want to talk about this revamped defense and the additions of what this defense has added. Jesse Bates signed a 4-year, $64 million contract. He was the best safety on the market. The Falcons made it happen. That included an $18 million signing bonus. The reason why I'm giving you these numbers is because I need you to put in context the money that was spent on the players to improve this defense. Caden Ellis, Mike, signs a 3-year, $21.5 million deal. It included a $5.2 million signing bonus, $10 million guaranteed. He comes over, he can play. And you said you think he might potentially lead the team in sacks.
I'm just, if you want to like hedge kind of a funky bet, because you and I were saying who could be our sort of surprise MVP on both sides, I'm gonna go with Caden Ellis. I think Ellis, he was brought over here for a reason by the new DC, comes over here and says, Ryan Nielsen, I can use this guy and set him up for success.
We also signed David Onyemata's 3-year deal, $35 million contract for the big defensive lineman, including $12 million signing bonus, $24 million guaranteed. I told you guys this. Outside of Cam Jordan, he was the next best interior defensive lineman on the Saints the last 5 years, period. There is no anybody else. I'm going to talk about the other guy, Davenport. No, it's been this guy. And then you signed Calais Campbell, Mike. 1 year, $7 million. Now, remember when this contract came out, we were like, whoa, wait a minute. That's a little bit more than what we thought. How many snaps are we getting for that price from Calais Campbell?
And we thought maybe 25, because 25 is where it was at last year. This is a good problem to have, though, guys. We've got the rotation. I know phrases, what's the phrase? NASCAR package. The Giants kind of started that by rotating guys in back, almost 20 or 15 years ago. Other teams, the elite teams, have got the depth. When the Falcons were really good going to the Super Bowl and all the way to 17, when we completely shut down the Rams in the building and stymied the Eagles. Should have won that game, Carl. You're rotating guys like Babineau and all those big dudes that we had that were space grabbers, and some guys were role players. And this is something now that, Claiborne was one. Remember him? He was one of those dudes.
I do.
This is what we've got now. And maybe it's not sexy, but there were no big-time edge rushers to grab. I know Bud Dupree's long in the tooth, but he's not going to give you, to Carl's point, he's not going to be on the field for 50 snaps. They're going to rotate these guys in key moments. And for what it's worth, the other added aspect of Calais Campbell is he is a leader. He kind of gives you some of the things that Dwight Freeney gave us, I should say, when he came in here in 16.
So you've got playmakers now at every level, right? That's how you have to look at this. And that's not to include, Mike, the improvement of guys that we currently have. AJ's going to be better this year, guys. AJ Terrell, I'm telling you, talk to AJ. He's excited about the season. He wants to be better and be back in that class of elite corners this year. Jesse Bates, again, has been an all-pro safety. Then you talk about Caden Ellis and playing on that Saints defense. The defense is the reason why they were in this window that they've been in for the last 5 years of potentially getting to a Super Bowl prior to Breeze retiring. He's been a part of that. He knows what this is about. Onyemata knows what this is about. Calais he's done a lot of things in his life and his career. And Mike, from all of this, I just think now I look at every level, which we haven't had, you have playmakers. I'm not forgetting about Grady. I'm not forgetting about the other guys that have made impacts on this defense, and Troy Anderson, you mentioned this. I think he's going to take the next step.
Now, guys out there will still be looking at what Nakobe Dean does and what Troy Anderson does, because that was remember the big rallying cry, and Nakobe fell all the way to the third round, and we took this guy in the second. But I'm telling you, he's a different kind of athlete, and he does fit what we're looking for. Nakobe, and not diminishing what he's going to maybe do in the NFL, but this guy just is a different kind of player. And I know that some guys are like, who? I was one of those guys on draft night 2 years ago. But now he's going to have dudes in front of him who are going to keep the guards and the linemen off of him to allow him to really pop. And that's what how do you think Devo had such an impact his rookie year? Because we had the kind of depth on defensive line.
Yeah, you got to keep these guys, the big guys, off of the offensive linemen, off of your linebackers and let them flow. And if they're able to do that, then they can make these plays. I mean, listen, Ray Lewis will tell you this. All those years that he was great, he had a big guy in front of him, keeping, whether it was Tony Saragusa or other guys that came after Goose, Mike, keeping those guys off of you. You got to be able to make those plays and flow. 404-726-0929. It is our Solomon Brothers Diamond text line. You can always text the show as we take a look at the Falcons' revamped defense. We've been talking about positions and O-line and all these different things, and we will get back into the NBA draft tonight. Hawks pick 15th currently. They could trade that. They could package a deal. We are still waiting to see what's going to happen as Landry Fields is now in charge of all of those moves for our Atlanta Hawks as the general manager. But as far as the Falcons, and by the way, I know you mentioned Jeff Okudah. They trade for him.
Right.
All of a sudden, if that works,
Yeah, I know some guys immediately saying this is the same thing you and I was joking around about. Guys are already you're worried about problems we don't even have yet. Well, what if Akuda's really good? Well, they'll find a way to sign him. If they don't, then he'll be able to bankroll his 1 year here and go get some loot somewhere else. But A.J. Terrell's got a contract coming up. If Akuda comes out and does his job, maybe you find a way to accommodate both. And remember, with all these 1 year contracts on defense, you're going to have, and you also, guys, we've got the freedom of cap space. Just because we invested $180 some odd million in the guaranteed or the contracts over the life of these deals, you know how it works in the NFL, guys. You only see the signing bonus. They've got more flexibility than they had as they were getting crushed those last couple of years with the Julio and Matt hit. So we got room, man.
Well, none of these deals, even the Bates deal, Mike, only 4 years. Usually after year 2, you can get out of these deals, and it doesn't crush you with the cap hit. So, again, this isn't guys who are making $35 or $40 million. This isn't quarterback money. Right. It's significant, don't get me wrong, but I'm not worried about us getting back into cap hell because of the way these deals are structured.
Well, we debated for years, the previous regime, general managers, how do you build your defense? You build it from the back to the front. A lot of general managers in the NFL say, no, you got to go get pass rush, down linemen, 7 guys that can go get it. So when you say you get Bates, we're not building from the back to the front. We're building simultaneously. We just told you the example of all the depth, all the pieces. We're going to be in the pass rush. You might actually see a bunch of sacks this year at Mercedes-Benz. When's the last time you can say you did that? We were second worst to the Bears last year.
The Bears.
So if we get to 38 or 40 sacks, we literally double the number. And when you look at the guys we added, that's not like pie in the sky. That's like a realistic expectation.